you action figure enthusiasts out there. JC here, and welcome to the first TNInews live video of 2026. So I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last live stream, but with the holidays and everything, it's been pretty slow on the action figure news front. Didn't have a whole lot to really talk about, but as we're starting to get into the new year, things are starting to ramp up a little bit. So got multiple things to go over with you today. But before we do that, as always, let's just do a quick roll call, see who is in the house today. We've got Jim here. Good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year's to you. We've got Zim in the house as well. We've got Comics 1017. I always want to say 1017 1701. Anyway, happy New Year to you, Austin. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. We've got Steve Arena. What is up? Quinn's Comics is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Rashid is in the house. So good to see you. Stout Stag, also good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas, had a good New Year's. And hopefully 2026 will be a good year for everybody. Oceano, what is up? Alonzo, what is up? Let's rock. Welcome back. Steve Areno. All right, we got Dark Princess. Happy New Year to you as well. All right. So yeah, we got a full house. So just a quick channel update. I honestly, besides it being the holiday, I got to be honest with you. I have been reflecting on like what I want to try and accomplish this year myself. And I just find myself honestly more and more where like I don't look forward to going on social media. There's definitely a lot of toxicity that has been growing within this fandom, even here on YouTube. I'm certainly not going to delve into any of that stuff, but some of you may have seen it. Nothing specifically towards me, but just like, it comes across your feeds. It comes across, people, oh, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? And it's just like, oh, really? This is what people in this hobby are doing. And so it's just like, where you don't want to be a part of it in any way. So, and, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I mean, if it's not like fake news that's getting passed around on a lot of these platforms, or the new thing, of course, is AI. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen people passing around fake AI generated action figure images or MCU, a leaked MCU. Of course, it doesn't help that like Marvel seems to be leaking their own trailers. They're, for Avengers Doomsday early. We just got the official release of the X-Men one yesterday, but like last week that had leaked out, and then I saw someone who took parts of that trailer and made their own AI version. Like in the regular teaser trailer for the X-Men, we see briefly a Sentinel in the background, his leg behind Cyclops, but in like this AI generated one that I saw that somebody tried to pass off as the leaked trailer, they had actually made like where the X-Men were fighting the Sentinel. So there's just so much AI fake garbage out there. It's getting ridiculous. Fake headlines, I don't know. So it's more and more difficult for my own mental well-being. It's like the more I stay off social media, the better I feel. So, and that's not meant to be a slant to any of you guys. In fact, that's why I continue to come on here to do the news videos, is because, I do want to, when there's news to talk about, I want to bring you the information as best as possible. But all that's to basically say that I've kind of decided that I will continue to do these news live streams as they're warranted, meaning if there's enough news to actually talk about, but I'm not going to try and stick to any kind of set schedule. I still probably will try and do them. When I do them, they will be at this time, the 3 p.m. Eastern time. That works well for me. And it seems to, at least you guys who tune in every time, seems to work well for you. But and I probably will aim for Monday, like if there's enough news to warrant it, doing it either like on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, weekends and Monday and Tuesdays and Thursdays. Generally, I try not to do the streams, but I may not like every week do 3 streams a week. If there's no news at all, I may not do a stream at all that week. It's just so I don't want to feel like I have to come on every week and say, hey, I'm not doing a stream today, or I'm not doing a stream. You guys seem to be, track it pretty well. You guys always, no matter when I pop on here, you guys always seem to be there. So, but I just kind of wanted to kind of throw that out there that I won't have necessarily a set schedule. Now that probably will screw me more with the YouTube algorithm and stuff, but at this point, I really don't care that much about that. So. All right, so now I've gotten that out of the way, and like next month is going to be Toy Fair month, so we definitely things will be picking up news wise. So you'll see when we get into things like that, you'll definitely be seeing more and more videos from me during those types of time periods. But these past couple weeks with holidays and everything, it's just been like really dead. Now Salome is rubbing her head against my hand, and I can't see the screen to see your guys' comments. But on that note, let's jump over to the news. And I wanted to start off today talking about once again, I've been seeing on social media a lot of confusion in regards to Mattel and the DC license, and when will we start to see DC product from Mattel, and more specifically, the confusion is in, what are we going to see when? And we're definitely going to see DC product. I talked about this in October. I talked to Mattel. I got some confirmation, but that we would definitely start to see some product from Mattel in this year, in about the middle of the year, but that it was going to be the more kid-oriented stuff. Now, let me clarify that a little bit. When I say kid-oriented stuff, we're basically talking about price points, okay? Not necessarily scale. Sometimes the kid stuff is smaller scale, usually less articulation, less accessories. But the big difference between something that's geared more towards an adult collector and something that is geared more towards a parent and their kids, when we're talking about these larger companies like a Mattel or Hasbro, is the price point. So recently, in the past week or so, rumors have been circulating around about the first product that we're going to see from Mattel in July, which based on the leaks, which this part I can't confirm, that it's going to be called DC Universe. Even if that was like, this looks like somebody may have seen from a distributor list, but it's very possible that DC Universe is just a code name, that the actual line of figures will be called DC Universe. I mean, it's possible, I don't know, but that I would almost take a grain of salt. First figures, Batman, Robin, the Joker, and Flash, very basic characters. This is a low end budget line. But I've seen a lot of people mistaking this, thinking this is going to be essentially DC or Mattel's version of McFarlane's DC Multiverse, and it's not. This is going to be the kid-oriented stuff based on the rumors. I don't know. I haven't seen anything myself indicating scale. I've seen pricing for some of this stuff, but I haven't seen anything specifically calling out the scale. But based on the leaks that have been floating around the internet, it says 6.5 inches. So that seems like a good possibility, but again, I personally can't. I can't confirm that. What I can tell you is what I've seen is, from what I've seen, simply listed as the DC core line coming from Mattel. Again, that's something being used with retailers and stuff, but a very basic action figure line. So very well, maybe 6.5 inches. And I'm using, you can see this image here. This is Mattel's WWE line. And from everything I've seen, based on my conversations previously with Mattel and based on some of the distributor listings I've seen and stuff with pricing information, it sounds like they're going to follow the same model that they've used for WWE. So for those of you not familiar with WWE figures, Mattel does what is a very basic action figure line called Main Event now. Figures cost about $13. So that's what you see here. These are two Gunther figures, and the one on the left here is their basic figure, which retails for about $12.95, $13. Okay, no accessories, very basic decos. They're not bad figures, but again, these are priced to try and get kids and their parents to buy wrestling figures, not for the adult collector. That doesn't mean that adult collectors aren't collecting some of this basic stuff, and probably will with the DC as well, but they are not the main target audience with these basic mainline figures. So, and that's what I suspect we will start, almost 99% sure is what we'll start seeing from Mattel for DC in the July timeframe. Figures like this Gunther basic figure. So something, and pricing is almost identical from the prices I've seen. These DC figures will cost about $13. So again, I can't confirm scale. I haven't seen anything specifically myself that says scale, but based on what others have been throwing out there, 6.5 inch, definitely seems like a logical scale for Mattel to use. Now, next we should see what I would equate to Mattel's WWE Elite Collection figures. Those are a little bit nicer, more accessories, more articulation. Those cost around between $20 and $25. So, and the label I saw used for the DC equivalent of that was just a feature line. And again, price point is looking to be around between $22 and $25. And then I believe, and that we could possibly see as soon as at the end of this year. Technically, it's slated as a 2027 line, but we might start seeing those start to hit shelves at the end of this year. At which point you will possibly see where you'll end up seeing both McFarlane stuff and Mattel stuff on shelves at the same time. But again, that would be like towards the end of the year. Oftentimes the first waves of the next year end up coming out, at the end of the previous year. So that's very possible with these. But again, technically, that would be considered like a wave for 2027. Now, there should end up being a more high-end line that will be more in keeping with what McFarlane does with DC Multiverse, or again, taking it back to the WWE example, their Ultimate Edition figures, which cost about $35, have the most accessories, most articulation, most detail. And that we won't see, I don't expect to see it all until sometime in 2027. So McFarlane, as he said at New York Comic Con, he will continue to do DC Multiverse stuff till the end of this year. And then I don't expect McFarlane to continue. I can't sit here and say 100% definitive, but just based on what I know generally how this stuff works, I do not expect McFarlane to continue to do any kind of DC Multiverse figures beyond the end of this year. And I've seen no evidence with retailer listings or anything like that up to this point for anything coming from McFarlane for DC up until the end of this year. Now, I still could conceivably see McFarlane ending up negotiating something to be able to continue to do things like, DC Direct statues, kind of like they do with Marvel. They do the Marvel statue type figures, but, Hasbro would never allow McFarlane to do articulated Marvel figures that would compete with Marvel Legends. So, same thing with Mattel. I just don't think Mattel would allow it as the master license holder. But that's how this should be breaking down. And so the listings that you're seeing getting passed around on social media, and I can't confirm, again, I've not seen any specific figure names. So again, going back to the leak listing of this first wave being Batman, Robin, the Joker, and Flash, again, characters that you would certainly expect, mainline characters that would attract the kids and everything. So it certainly makes logical sense, but again, I've not seen anything with specific names and whether they actually call that line DC Universe. And same thing for like the higher end line, will they retake over? Because remember, Mattel's the one that actually started doing, before they lost the license originally, they were doing DC Multiverse figures, and McFarlane basically took that name and continued it on when they took over the license. So I suspect there's a very good chance that Mattel will take the DC Multiverse name back in 2027, but I don't know that for sure. That's just a guess on my part. But again, I just want to be clear, because I see a lot of people when they see these listings getting passed around social media with very little to no context, thinking this is going to be the new equivalent of Mattel's McFarlane stuff, which is just not the case. And we really won't see the collector oriented, higher priced figures from Mattel, whatever they're going to do. And again, I have no idea. Again, keeping with the Mattel stuff, where all those WWE figures are pretty much the same scale, I definitely feel like there's a good chance. So if in fact this basic line from Mattel of DC figures is 6.5 inches, then it's an assumption, but probably a safe assumption, that the higher end stuff, while more articulated, more detailed, more accessories, will also be 6.5 inches. And some people I've seen say, oh, 6.5 is kind of a weird scale, but it's not really. Marvel, we all call Marvel Legends 6-inch figures, but they're really considered more technically 6.5 inches. So not quite 7 inches. They're not as tall as a 7-inch figure, but they are generally taller than a regular 6-inch figure, which, you remember when DC directed the DC Icons line, which were 6-inch figures, but then they ended up being smaller than Marvel Legends. Well, 6.5 is going to likely be more in keeping with like a Marvel Legend figure. So that I, again, not necessarily new news. This is kind of stuff that we already talked about previously, but I wanted to clarify. I also, again, when you want to really kind of visualize what we're talking about here, I think if you look to Mattel's WWE line and what they do with those, that is going to give you a very good idea of how they're going to work the DC stuff. I think it's, again, going to be done very similarly with the basic figures, the middle figures, and then the higher end figures, all probably going to be around the same scale. So good news with that is, I guess, I mean, it depends on what you're collecting for, but I don't really collect wrestling figures, so I couldn't tell you if people really mix and match their basic figures with their higher end figures or not, but conceivably you could. So if you didn't want, if they did a character as a basic figure that you didn't want to spend like $35 on, but much more willing to spend $13 on, and don't necessarily care if it has a lot of accessories or even is articulated, then that might be a good option for you. So again, collectors may end up collecting some of this basic line stuff that ends up coming out this year. But when we say kids stuff versus collector, we're talking about who the demographic is they're primarily shooting for, and generally that comes down to price. Because I mean, any kid would buy, probably be happy with the higher end $35 action figure, but the parent isn't going to be as happy spending $35 on a figure as opposed to $13. They're going to be much more likely to buy their kid a $13 figure than they would a $35 figure or $40 figure or a $50 figure. Now, I don't, details like, are we going to see Build-A-Figures from Mattel? Are we going to see deluxe figures? Probably in some shape or form, but I have no information in regards to that. This is all very basic information. I do suspect we will get more clarification on this stuff, probably start to see these basic figures at Toy Fair next month. New York Toy Fair this year is taking place the week of Valentine's Day. It'll fall on Valentine's Day, which is not unusual. In recent years, it hasn't been on Valentine's, but used to be always fell on the same time as Valentine's Day. So I do suspect Mattel will be sharing, more details. I doubt they will show any of the higher end collector stuff at Toy Fair. I could be wrong on that. Maybe they'll give us like a preview or something, but at least I think we'll probably get more information at Toy Fair. But Like I say, I've been seeing a lot of confusion with these listings and people thinking, oh, well, that's, essentially, and people saying like, oh, well, Mattel can't use DC Multiverse because McFarlane's continuing to. Well, this year they're not going to be using DC Multiverse, but that certainly, I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, they could use DC Multiverse next year with the higher end collector stuff. Not saying they will, though. Again, remember Mattel was actually the first one to start, naming their action figure line DC Multiverse. So they may decide they want to continue that. All right, so let's move on. Let's let's talk some McFarlane. So just today we had a new round of pre-orders. These were announced last year. We first started seeing these at New York Comic Con, and then they also announced these at the last McFarlane Toys show live stream last month. But this new wave of DC collector figures have gone up for pre-order. So this wave includes Black Hawk, Elongated Man, Cosmic Boy from Final Crisis, Professor Pig from Batman, and Zatanna with Detective Chimp, which has by far been the most popular figure in this wave. As far as I've seen, Zatanna has sold out everywhere online. The others are mostly available. Elongated Man, surprisingly to me, sold out at Big Bad Toy Store. The case of these sold out. Amazon's completely sold out. But like the others are available, Entertainment Earth and Nerdzoic. Oh, and let me also just announce now officially Nerdzoic is our newest sponsor. So along with Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth, you'll be hearing me mention Nerdzoic um, as a new site sponsor. So sells the cases that include, so all of these figures have Platinum Edition figures, and EE was selling cases with the Platinums. Nerdzoic has cases. I don't know if they were including, I don't think they were including the Platinums with their cases. I think they end up waiting to see how many Platinums they get, and then they will sell those individually at a little bit higher price. Big Bad Toy Store tends to do that as well. But Entertainment Earth, they have the case where, they just ship you the whole case, which includes, I think like one Platinum figure each. Now, these actually started hitting physical stores. Like, I don't know if it was Target or Walmart or even both, but last week. So, and these also have been out in Asia. So, in fact, a lot of stuff from McFarlane, even the stuff that hasn't actually even gone up for pre-order here in the United States, has already started to hit overseas. But yeah, all these figures have Platinum variants in this wave. Mostly are just color variants, but they do have the variants. Like Pig has a green apron. Black Hawk there's a black version along with the blue one. Cosmic Boy, different colors. Same thing with Zatanna. So, but Zatanna is definitely the hardest one in this wave. It's the most popular, which I don't think should surprise anybody. It's definitely the one that sold out the quickest. All right, what else do we have from McFarlane? Well, so as I mentioned, other figures have started hitting overseas. So this is the next wave of DC Page Puncher figures. So this is actually a red platinum figure of the Jessica Cruz Green Lantern. These are for overseas. So this is the next wave of DC Page Punchers, which I think McFarlane said at the McFarlane Toys show these would be going up for pre-order in mid-January. Based on the Entertainment Earth drop zone page, I am going to say these are probably going to go up on the 14th. There is a McFarlane pre-order listed for the 14th, and that would be mid-January, so I'm just putting two and two together. But again, these are already hitting overseas. I don't think these have started hitting physical stores yet here in the United States, but they are hitting overseas. So the Flash, the GIJoe Flash, is a red platinum. It's another red platinum. So 2 regulars and 2 red platinums. And again, pre-orders are gonna in the United States will be coming up here soon. Instagram photographer Rob D Toys has the figure in hand, so we've got some nice images, a little photoshopping there with the green around it, but the Jessica Cruz figure, so that I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the most popular in this wave. Though the GIJoe Flash might as well, I don't know. Alex Chen News found this image, I'm guessing on one of the Asian message boards, but we've seen leaked listings for a version 2 of Azrael coming, Azrael Batman, so basically with corrected colors. So this looks to be that figure. So this has not yet been officially announced by McFarlane, but again, already at least a prototype of it has slipped out from the factories. So your first look at that one will probably be a popular one, since they've tried this figure multiple times, but this is actually the first time they've gotten the correct blue and gold colors to it. The Walmart one with the sky blue and stuff just didn't end up looking very good. That Spawn figure, which went up for pre-order over the holidays, that has started hitting physical stores. This is part of the Image Comics Founders series. Next figure to be offered in this line will be the Savage Dragon figure. These were announced at New York Comic Con, but again, this one has started to hit physical stores. Let's see. So here's a look at the platinum editions for the collector figures. So you can see Pig. I thought he had a green apron, but I guess it's white. So you got the black apron and then the platinum white apron. He's got green gloves, I guess is what I was thinking on the regular version. Again, these are basically just color variants. So this time around, and there is a variant of Blackhawk. Like I said, he's in black. There's the variant for Blackhawk. These are all from overseas. There's the variant for the Zatanna figure, the regular version with the yellow vest, and then you've got the white vest. You have the regular version has the stockings and the net stockings, and the platinum does not. Chimp is wearing a brown suit as opposed to green. So again, color variants. This is the wave that went up for pre-order previously. What was it, 1 or 2 weeks ago? The Ice figure, the Superman, the Flash, and the Red Rocket. So again, a look at some of the variants. This Red Rocket has a platinum version. Also, online, the static figure here was sold as a McFarlane store exclusive, but I think as this case hits physical stores, you'll start to see static included in those cases. These are those, they announced these at the McFarlane Toys show. These are just black repaints of their Page Puncher turtle figures, all 4 of the turtles. These are essentially platinum figures, they called them. I don't see the platinum label on the packaging here, but they listed them as red platinum figures during the McFarlane Toy Show, saying that these would primarily be available at physical stores, though you might see some offerings online as well. But again, those are just repaints in black. So that brings us pretty much up to date on McFarlane. Let me see. Yeah, because I've talked to you guys since that last McFarlane Toy Show. So, yeah, so that pretty much brings us up to date. So let's jump over to NECA. So a couple of new pre-orders have gone up recently for NECA. Big Bad Toy Store, Nerdzoic. Entertainment Earth is yet to list these figures. So I don't know what it is about NECA and Entertainment Earth. Like, they wait forever to list these NECA figures these days. Sometimes they don't even list them at all. So, but right now, Big Bad Toy Store, and I believe Nerdzoic has these, but Conjuring, Ultimate, Malthus figure, the demon. So if you're a Conjuring fan, that one's available for pre-order. A lot of horror figures we're seeing from NECA. Christmas Ghostface. So this was just a teaser. This one has not yet actually gone up for pre-order as far as I know of. But then we got Happy Death Day Baby Face Killer. This is an 8-inch cloth figure. So this has gone up for pre-order at places like Nerdzoic and Big Bad Toy Store. Again, not yet at Entertainment Earth. Never watched this movie, so not a big horror fan myself, so I don't see many of the modern horror movies. And then finally just revealed this is their Toonie Terror line. We are seeing I Know What You Did Last Summer Fisherman figures. So if you're into the Toonie Terror stuff, the cartoony, limited articulation 6-inch figures, then there you go. Not much on the Hasbro GIJoe front. We did just yesterday got a look at the new Hiya Toys 4-inch Roadblock figure. So classic Roadblock with this Hiya Toy figure. Again, these are not sold by U.S. retailers, but overseas retailers do offer them. I said 5, I guess 4.3 inches technically. But Hiya Toys, for this smaller scale, if these were easily available in the United States, I'd be tempted to collect these, but um, I'll come back to the turtle news. I'm pretty sure we talked about this the last time I talked to you guys about these Arctic figures. These should be released as a 3-pack, which I believe will be exclusive to Hasbro Pulse to go along with like your Snowcat and the recent Arctic Hiss, made to pre-order Hiss. This was revealed back before Christmas from the Adventures in Podcasting guys who had the Hasbro GIJoe brand team on. So that's where they announced that. The Hiss tank, the Arctic Hiss tank pre-order window has closed. So I don't know how many of you ended up backing this or buying. It's not a HasLab, so it's not really backing, but buying this one. I did not. I was on the fence, but I decided to hold off just from space wise. And I honestly, based on what we've been seeing with the Marvel Legend made to pre-order stuff, I totally expect that this will be offered again when it actually is available and starts shipping. Maybe at a little bit higher price, I don't know, but I would be shocked if this isn't made available again on Hasbro Pulse at some point. So if you missed it and you decide you want it, my guess is you will get another shot at it. The cost this first time around was $200. So if they do offer it again, like we saw with the Sentinel for Marvel Legends, it might be a little bit higher price. Okay, so big GIJoe news, kind of big, especially if you're a Turtle fan, is these are leaked. MSM THTMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, on Instagram. He was the first one to post these. I think he pulled them down, but obviously once he had posted them, they started to spread like wildfire. Now these images, I've seen these kind of images for Playmates Turtle stuff before. I believe these are from overseas distributors with the Asian writing up here in the corner. So I am about 99% sure these are legit. Again, I've seen these kind of images for Playmates Turtle stuff in the past. So GIJoe crossover line. I will tell you, I am almost 99% sure these will be some type of store exclusive here in the United States. Leaning towards it being Walmart, though possibly Target. I guess maybe even slightly possible Amazon, but but I definitely don't think, I've not seen any indication this is going to be some kind of mainline release here in the United States. So almost definitely, and we'll probably find out more next month at Toy Fair, but I'm going to say these are probably going to be like a Walmart exclusive. But essentially, it's a mashup of Turtles and G.I. Joe. These are from Playmates Toys. So you've got the figures, you've got Leonardo as Snake Eyes, you've got Donatello as Shipwreck, you've got Krang as Destro, Shredder as Cobra Commander, Rocksteady and Bebop, I think, are supposed to be Dreadnoks. And you've got Raphael, who I guess Roadblock, maybe, with the big gun. Um, and I'm not sure who he's supposed to be, but some type of GI Joe mashup. But to me, the coolest thing about this line are the vehicles. So you can see here, essentially the Ram cycle is getting a turtle makeover of sorts, and looks like it's going to come with an April O'Neil figure. Actually, the picture in the background is an All Striker. Actually, I just now kind of noticing that, but All Striker with uh, April O'Neil. So the box actually is different from the vehicle shown here. And then a Dragonfly, the box matches the vehicle, but turtle makeover vehicle, which to me, I don't know. I gotta say, this line in general is not interesting to me, but I may end up having to pick up this Dragonfly. So like I say, these have not been officially confirmed by Playmates or Hasbro. These are 100% a leak. Some distributor, I'm guessing, messed up and had these online somewhere. But they weren't supposed to be revealed at this point. Probably we're holding them for Toy Fair. So like I say, I'm sure we'll get more details then. Donatello is dial tone, I guess. Michelangelo is shipwreck. I think I said Donatello is shipwreck, but Michelangelo is shipwreck, and then Donatello is supposed to be dial tone, and Raphael is supposed to be roadblock. So again, if you're into Turtles, you're into GI Joe. We've seen. I don't know if we talked about this, but we saw documents from overseas public listings. This is for essentially the Asian Wall Street. But in these documents from Playmates, it says that Playmates and Viacom have not reached an agreement to extend the Turtle license beyond 2026. So as of right now, and we've got a year to go, so it's certainly possible something could be negotiated before the end of the year. So I'm not going to sit here and say Playmates is definitely going to lose the license at the end of this year. If somebody else has picked up the license, we'll probably hear about that at Toy Fair. So if there is an actual license change, and obviously everybody and their uncle these days makes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle products, but we're talking about like the master toy license for Turtle. So I suspect if that in fact ends up being the case, if someone new has picked up the license, I think Toy Fair, it's a good bet we will hear that information announced at Toy Fair next month. If nobody has picked up the license, then I feel like there's a good chance Playmates may end up negotiating a deal and end up holding on to it. But if somebody new picks it up, we'll hear about it. I don't see the line going off into limbo. So, I'm kind of, because again, part of the problem to me with Turtles is that so many companies do some variation of Turtle figures and products these days. So I don't know. And I'm sure, that license that Playmates has held since essentially 1987 is not a cheap license. You know, which is why probably, when they say a deal hasn't been met, that means essentially, there's probably disagreement on price. And Playmates, and I'm speculating here, but if I were Playmates, I'd be like, you've let everybody and their uncle have a piece of this license, so it's no longer as valuable as it once was, and therefore we don't want to pay. We want the price lowered if we're going to continue to do the stuff. This stuff, which basically includes the cheaper kids end stuff, the stuff for the movies and TV shows and all that stuff. Whereas the other companies usually are doing the more collector oriented stuff. So if they do lose it, I'm not even sure who would pick it up. Because again, I feel like the problem's going to be who's going to want to pay that kind of money for a license that has, for all intents and purposes, been kind of milked to death. But we'll see. We'll wait and see. But like I say, if there's an actual case, because again, this document would suggest a deal between Playmates and Viacom hasn't been reached, but nothing about somebody else has taken over the license or anything like that. So if that's the case, if somebody came in, if Playmates wasn't able to reach a deal and somebody came in and did grab the license, I would guess we'll hear that information at Toy Fair in February. But and if Playmates does lose the license, obviously, I would expect Playmates to crank out as much Turtle stuff in this final year as they possibly can, and including, obviously the GIJoe stuff. Let's see. Let's jump over to Masters of the Universe. So if you missed the pre-order for the Mondo exclusive version of the 2000X Skeletor figure, this regular retail version that has less accessories is now right now Nerdzoic's the only one that is put up. I do suspect at least Big Bad Toy Store will at some point offer this figure. Again, doesn't have as many accessories and stuff as the Mondo version. $104, but if you want this Mondo 2000X Skeletor to go with your He-Man, it is up now at Nerdzoic, and like I say, I do suspect it will be up soon at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth probably as well, but definitely Big Bad Toy Store. We've got a new Mattel Creations pre-order coming up next, or this Friday, actually, the 9th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Club Grayskull members. It is the Great Black Wizard. So I am not at all familiar with this character, but I'm sure for those of you diehard Masters fans, you know who this guy is. And again, this is going to be a Mattel Creations exclusive for the Origins line. We saw these images leak out weeks ago, so these aren't necessarily finalized images. So far, Mattel Creations has only released these 2 teaser images, technically to Club Grayskull members, but sleuths have put the 2 and 2 together that this is the figure that's going up for pre-order. Wave 3 of Mattel's 2000X line has gone up for pre-order, went up for pre-order earlier this week. This includes Zodak, Prince Adam, Skeletor, and for the deluxe figure in this wave, Clawful. So Big Bad Toy Store, Nerdzoic, Entertainment Earth, Amazon all had, well, Amazon had these listed. I don't think they're actually available for purchase right now on Amazon. And they didn't have, they only listed the regular figures, not the deluxe Clawful. But you can definitely get them at Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and Nerdzoic. So if you're into the cartoon collection, 2000X figures, again, this is the third wave. Wave 1 has already started to hit. So, and I don't think Wave 2 is hit yet, but Wave 1 is definitely hit. Also, just throwing a plug for Nerdzoic, they have in stock the newest wave of Masterverse figures. This is Wave 20 with New Eternia Dragstore, Keldor, and Adora, though last time I checked, it looked like Adora had sold out, but the other 2 are in stock. Oh no, Dragster is sold out as well. So right now, Keldor is the only one. You can still get these at places like Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store, though they're still listed as pre-order. Probably will be getting them in stock soon, but not quite yet. One other thing I wanted to touch upon. Speaking of Mattel leaked listings, now I talked about this previously. Back in early December, Instagram user Preternia had discovered a list of what looked like Mattel movie figures, first listed as first ones and Chronicles. Um, and Mattel actually came out later and basically said there were inaccuracies with this information. They didn't specify what the inaccuracies were. First of all, my first feeling is I doubt they're going to call an action figure line called First Ones. So that is probably not correct. Same thing with Chronicles. That would be a weird name. So that's probably not correct. The other thing I think might be incorrect is at least one of these are movie figures. One's supposed to be more kid oriented wave, and the other is supposed to be more adult collector oriented wave. I've seen some pricing information, not much else in the way of details, but I've seen pricing information that would suggest that perhaps the scale on the collector line is not correct, that it's going to be more in keeping with Masterverse figures. Being the price points I was seeing was around $27, which would be pretty expensive for like an Origins scale figure. So at mass retail. So again, I have not seen anything specifically in regards to scale. I think there is some accuracy in these listings that Preternia found, but I also think, as Mattel said, there are some things not correct. And one of the biggest things probably that stuck out to me the first time I read this was just the names of these action figure lines. I definitely hope that Mattel continues, I would hate to see Mattel just do origin size figures and no longer do the larger scale figures. So I'm definitely hopeful that is one of the things that they got incorrect. And there's also nothing to say that while these might be dedicated movie lines that they're doing this year, uh, that they wouldn't continue to do the other stuff that they've been doing in some shape or form. So, again, Toy Fair, I suspect we will be seeing a lot of information on Mattel's offerings for the new live action movie for Masters of the Universe. For you Thundercat fans, we've seen this figure on display at conventions, but the Jatara figure, the 1/6 scale Jatara figure, is going to be going up for pre-order soon. They released this teaser image today, so I suspect we'll probably get more details in the next day or so, seeing this either go up for pre-order later this week or early next week on the Mondo shop website. But again, Jatara is going to be going up soon from Mondo. For you Mezco fans, going up for pre-order, available now online at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and Nerdzoic, is the newest Mezco 112 Collective DC Batman figure. This is year one Batman. So, as expected, as we always get with Mezco, lots of hands, lots of different head sculpts. You got the soft goods wire cape. Again, this is based on his year one look. Some other effect pieces. There's the mask with cape. You get a spotlight and a grenade and some other blast effects. Batarangs. Of course, can't have a Batman figure without batarangs, grapple guns, tape recorder, grenades, interchangeable shoes. So, and this one priced $116. I think that's what everybody is selling it for. Yep. Nerdzoic has a little bit higher at 120, but again, that is available for pre-order. Last week we got a reissue. I think last time I talked to you guys, the Shredder had already gone up for pre-order, but Oh, it was Marvel. We had a reissue of Gambit. I think it was last week. And that's still available as well, 116 bucks. This is a reissue figure of the X-Men Gambit 112 collective figure. So if you missed it the first time, you got another chance to pre-order it. All right, let's talk Marvel. Let's talk Marvel Legends. Told you about the new trailer, X-Men trailer, Avengers Doomsday with the X-Men. This is the third one, so it's hard to say that Marvel isn't deliberately leaking these trailers online. I don't know why they're doing that. I think it's stupid. They should just put them out, especially with all the AI fake junk that's floating around that people try and pass as real. But that's just me. But right now we have officially the first one was Captain America. Guess he's a father now. The second one with Thor. I guess he's a father now. And then X-Men with Cyclops wearing his actual Jim Lee style outfit for the first time in the movies. So you can see in the back there the Sentinel walking behind him. So there's a fourth one that has leaked, which I'm sure we'll get the official version of next week, that has Wakandans and the thing from Fantastic Four. So again, these have been leaking like clockwork. So it's hard to believe that these aren't being deliberately leaked for some reason. And every week, same pattern. And then, like I say, next week they'll release it officially. And I don't know exactly how many of these teaser trailers they have, but I've heard rumors suggest we might see a full-on trailer released during the Super Bowl. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, this movie doesn't come out until next year, so they're definitely maybe jumping a gun a little bit. For you Revel Tech fans, we've got a new purple costume symbiote Spider-Man figure. This is not yet gone up for pre-order. Goes up on the 13th. But if you like that kind of purpley look for the symbiote suit, it's one you might want to check out. Should be available Big Bad Toy Store. Nerdzoic might have it. You get this exclusive head if you order it directly from the GIJoe web store. Going back to McFarlane, we've got a new round of 110 scale statues that'll be going up for pre-order on Friday at 12 p.m. These again were announced at the last McFarlane Toy Show. Doctor Strange will be a regular release from Strange Tales. I like the bright colors on that one. X-Men Gambit from that X-Men Jim Lee cover, the last one in that series to complete that cover, that gatefold cover. That'll be a general release. We've got Lizard, McFarlane's Lizard. That is a general release, though there will be an autographed version offered exclusively at EB Games in Canada. So basically for you Canadians, you can get a Todd McFarlane autograph version of that one, but there will be a regular release everywhere of that one. Spider-Man, again, regular release, but again, that one is going to have an autographed exclusive version that will be offered at Target stores. And then Juggernaut here, this is based on his Spider-Man #6 comic, again, based Todd McFarlane's art of Juggernaut. This is a Target exclusive, also going up for pre-order on Friday. So, again, probably around 10 or around noonish, but sometimes you just never know with Target. But again, Juggernaut. And as I mentioned, like with the other stuff, these have already started hitting overseas. So these are kind of in-hand shots of those. Tomorrow, for you Marvel Legend fans, we've got our first pre-order of the new year. It is that Astonishing X-Men 2-pack with Colossus and Shadowcat. Cost of this one is going to be MSRP is $55.99. So if you've been collecting the Astonishing X-Men figures, you probably will want to add these to your collection. You might want to get these, technically they're Astonishing X-Men, but, I would say they'd fit in pretty well with your regular figures. That's probably going to be our best version of Kitty Pryde that we've gotten to date. We've gotten some pretty good Colossus figures, but, if you want a Kitty Pryde that doesn't have like rubber knees and that type of thing, this is probably one that you want to check out. So again, that is tomorrow's pre-order, available pretty much. I don't know if this will be up on Amazon, but all your major e-tailers, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Nerdzoic, will have it up. And Amazon probably will, but I won't say that 100%. But 1 p.m. Eastern time for that one. Again, that's tomorrow. And I just want to go over. So that's the first Marvel Legend of many for this month. Originally, I thought this Ghost Rider was going to be going up for pre-order last Thursday. We didn't have one last Thursday, but every other Thursday for this month, there will be a Marvel Legend pre-order. And this Ghost Rider, this repaint that they announced at their last live stream, it is going to be up for pre-order sometime this month, but Hasbro's yet to give the specific date. And so Entertainment Earth Drop Zone page has pre-orders listed for, well, this one on January 7th actually got moved to the 14th, and I believe that's Transformers, and I'll talk about that more in just a minute. But there's also pre-orders listed on the 21st and 27th. So it's possible one of those dates will be for Ghost Rider. And like I say, they didn't give us a specific date, but they did tell us that that was going up for pre-order this month. The other figures, so everything else will be on a Thursday for Marvel Legends pre-order this Thursday. So again, tomorrow is the Colossus 2-pack. The Thursday after that will be the Grizzly figure. The Thursday after that will be the Marvel Abomination figure. That'll be $46.99. The Grizzly will be $39.99. All of these are 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then the final pre-order for January will be the Marvel Legends MCU Deluxe Deadpool and Dogpool set. So, and that will be $39.99. So just to go over, again, these were all revealed at the last Marvel Legends live stream at the end of the year. It's the Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is a repaint, mostly a little extra part for the bike, painted red. You get the new head sculpt encased in flames, but otherwise it is just a repaint of the past Johnny Blaze figure that they did. This version of Johnny Blaze is in blue, the blue jumpsuit. Again, the Colossus figure, that's tomorrow's pre-order. Colossus and Shadowcat. The Grizzly figure, which you can also has the alternate U.S. Major head if you want to use this figure for your Soviet super soldiers. And then Abomination. This is the first figure in a line of Hulk-based figures that will be released throughout the year. And then the Deadpool with all the accessories and Dogpool, the Hulk hands, the adamantium Wolverine skeleton parts from the movie, the Deadpool movie. Again, that's the final pre-order of January. All right, let's talk a little bit further about that Hulk figure. So, again, we know Hulk is the first figure. We're almost sure that Smart Hulk is coming in this line of Hulk figures, deluxe Hulk figures with the Hulk packaging that will be sprinkled throughout the year. They teased the gun that's almost identical to the one that Hulk is holding on that cover. Now, based on rumored listings, and these are not confirmed by Hasbro, and I believe it was Displaying Model Behavior that first put these listings out. So um, I can't confirm these really in any way, but other rumored Hulk figures that we will likely see are Hulk 2099 and then Cyborg Hulk, or yeah, officially named Cosmic Hulk. Um, so I believe that is what you'll be seeing for Hulk figures in the coming year. Now, keep in mind, you remember they did the Red She-Hulk figure. We might see Samson, but those aren't technically part of this Hulk themed line. So they're Hulk related characters that we could be seeing in the coming year, but technically not part of this Hulk line that starts with the Abomination. And that Abomination figure is using the Gamerverse Abomination body with new head sculpts and such. So it's not a completely new figure. The other teaser was that they at the live stream, I think we talked about this, but they showed that bird, which I believe is going to be for the Secret Wars Falcon figure. Um, so you may recall, again, Displaying Model Behavior was the first one to find these listings, but Secret Wars Wave 2, Constrictor, Falcon, a new Daredevil, some version of Spider-Man, an Absorbing Man, probably a reissue of the Build-A-Figure with maybe new head sculpt or something, and then an Unknown 6 figure. But I believe the bird they used in the teaser at the last live stream was for that Secret Wars Wave 2 Falcon figure. I don't know if we're going to get a Hasbro. So we've got a Star Wars live stream coming up next week on the 12th. I don't know if we're going to get a Marvel Legend live stream this month. Again, next month is Toy Fair. So, that's when I suspect we'll be getting a bunch of reveals. But it's possible. I definitely feel like they could do a Marvel Legend fan stream sometime this month as well. But I've not heard anything to say that. So I don't know for sure. Transformers. Let's finish off with some Transformer news. So yesterday, going up for pre-order was this new Studio Series Hot Rod figure from the movie, the '86 movie. Target exclusive. Pretty much just a repaint of the previous one that they've done. But it sold out quickly on Target yesterday. The pre-order did. Comes with the fishing rod and his saw blade that he used when he was fighting the Sharkticons, and two blasters, a matrix, the shield and laser sword he was using when he was training on the ship. So, but again, the figure itself, I think, is just a reissue with redeco paint. So, but sold out on Target. It was selling for $35. Hasbro said that when it comes into stock, you'll be able to find it at physical stores. I have very little doubt in my mind that once it actually comes in stock, it will be available again online. So if you missed out yesterday and you want this one, I wouldn't worry too much. Now we've got some pre-orders for other Transformers coming up. So we've got Missing Link, Grimlock. We only have these preview images at this time. MPG Hot Rod, NL01. These are Takara Tommy figures. Leo Convoy, Legendary Green Warrior version. Masterpiece movie series, Sideswipe and silver and red. Studio series Thundercracker, that's already been up for these are already been available here in the United States, and Transformer Timeline stuff. So notice 114 for these listed on these images. Now these are dates for the Japan pre-orders. Originally, Entertainment Earth had pre-orders for tomorrow, or today, actually, today the 7th. But up until yesterday, they had a Hasbro pre-order listed for today. And from what I could tell, I think it was supposed to be this Dakar Transformer stuff. But then we got these images that had the 14th. Again, these dates are for the Japan pre-orders, but usually this type of stuff goes up in Japan at least before they go up here in the US. Sometimes at the same time, but it would be unusual for them to go up for pre-order here in the United States before going up for pre-order in Japan. So it was odd when I saw the date as yesterday, but then saw the 14th date on the images. But then miraculously, Entertainment Earth punted that Hasbro pre-order to the 14th. So I think that's when these will go up for pre-order, the same day they did go up in Japan, which again, on the 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. That is kind of just some deduction. So I won't say 100%. I think I saw like Yak Face suggesting those might be Star Wars pre-orders, but I don't think so. I think it's for this Transformer stuff. Yes, we do have the Star Wars live stream next week, so we will probably have some Star Wars pre-orders coming up, but I don't think they're going to be on the 14th unless there's going to be multiple pre-orders. If they're going to do both Transformers and Star Wars on the same day. But right now, Entertainment Earth just has one Hasbro pre-order, not two, for the 14th, and I do believe that's for Transformers. Finally, just for shits and giggles, GIJoe Toys is doing a new movie line from Goat the Movie, which I've not seen anything for this movie, but obviously barnyard type animals playing basketball. So I don't know if this is kind of a unique take on like Space Jam type thing or what, but GIJoe Toys is doing figures for these. Now, these are like 5-inch figures, so they're not like 6-inch. Will Harris, which I guess is the star of the movie, has 2 versions. Then probably the coolest one is this main attraction figure, and then Jet, which kind of looks like a bad guy. Maybe. I don't know. But again, these are from GIJoe Toys. So GIJoe Toys is kind of expanding out into modern movie figures. I suspect these will be carried at major retailers. Amazon has them listed. Big Bad Toy Store just put these up today for pre-order. So, this is not generally what we see from GIJoe Toys, but again, as they're probably trying to expand and get more of a foothold and imprint at major retailers, this will probably go a long way to doing that. The movie, I believe, is supposed to come out February 13th. So the movie is released next month. Again, I have not seen any trailers for this movie. I had never even heard of this movie until I saw these figures that went up on Amazon last week. But I said, kind of cool. Have articulation. I guess he's a panther. Gotta like the yellow shoes. Let's see. For you Four Horsemen fans, we've got a new thing of Cosmic Legions, a new 2-pack, soldiers of the TU5CC, or 2 packs, I guess. But we got this preview. Full reveal is coming tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. They're doing a YouTube live stream. So we'll have more details on this later today. But if you're into the Cosmic Legion stuff from Four Horsemen, keep an eye out for that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to so we got a couple of Storm collectible figures. This looks like an exclusive white version of Saigat, exclusive to the Hong Kong Art Toys Expo. Man, they've got a lot of that kind of stuff overseas. King of Fighters Ultimate Match, 98 Clark Still 112 figure. Just this preview image right now. This Bakia Hanma property I'm not really familiar with. This is a variant with the blue gi. I think the last figure had a white gi that was available at Big Bad Toy Store. But I actually wanted to go over to Jazzwares. Or no, was it Jazzwares? No, Jack's, I'm sorry. So I just want to share new figures for the Sonic DC crossover. You know, these are various scales. The DC comic figures are 5-inch figures. Actually look pretty good. The Dark Side box set has been out for a while, but now we're getting some of the Sonic versions of the characters and single releases. These are blind bag figures. It's too bad this isn't a larger scale. This one isn't a larger scale. It would be kind of cool. But that Jack's DC Sonic crossover line of figures is hitting stores full force now. I think all of this stuff is out at physical stores. Dr. Eggman is Lex Luthor. Like I said, if that was a bigger scale figure, that would be definitely what I'd be tempted to get. But it's a blind bag, 2.5-inch figure. All right, I think that pretty much. Oh, one final thing. So Nacelle Company over the holiday, people started getting their first wave of Star Trek figures, and I guess the quality wasn't too good on them. So Nacelle came out and said they became aware of the problem after figures had started to ship out to people, but that they are now working with their factory to try and fix the problem. Anyone who got early figures that basically look like crap, they will replace once they have updated, corrected versions from the factory. So this was at the end of last month that they announced this, and they said they were expecting the delay. They basically halted shipping on all of their Wave 1 figures and saying the delay was going to be about 30 days. But like I say, some shipments had already gone out, so some people had already started to get these in hand. And obviously, once they did, and they saw how crappy they were looking, people took to the internet, and Nacelle acted. So this was just released yesterday. This is an updated look at their Wayoon figure. So the one on the left, the work in progress one, is the improved look for Wayoon. The one on the right is how it looked originally. So I would say definitely an improvement. However, I still wouldn't say that looks like the actual character too much. And as I've seen people pointing out that the original promo images look better than what we're seeing here, even with the updated updates. So obviously, work in progress could mean that they're still working on it. So we could see further improvements. Uh, Brian Weiss was not super clear on that, but so I put it to you, is this enough of an improvement that if you end up getting the figure as it looks on the left there, would you be happy with it? Or, it's still not good enough? Like I say, I'm not going to say it looks bad, but I just doesn't, it looks better than like the one that they were originally sending out, definitely. But, it's not a dead on likeness to me. I don't, obviously looks like what they're focusing on are the paint applications. So I don't know how much more dead on you can get to where, or that they will be able to get. Let me go to the promo image. Now keep in mind, these promo images were digital stills, not the actual figure. But I feel like, definitely those promo images look a little bit better than what we're seeing. So I did not get these figures the first wave. I'm still waiting to see if we start, how far we actually get into this line. I'm a little worried with the character selection that these are not going to sell super great. So I'm not going to invest in a new Star Trek line unless I see it has longevity. Obviously, not off to a great start with the QC issues, but to Nacelle's credit, they are trying to address them. They are going to replace anyone who got like the first version. They will, they even, I think, said that like you don't even have to contact them. They're just going to send you out. I don't know exactly how they can track everyone who has one. If you have an early version that you're not happy with and you want to make sure you get a replacement, I'd probably shoot them an email just to be safe. But yeah, and these figures, yeah, 29 bucks, about $30 is what they're retailing for. Yeah, about 29 bucks is what they're retailing for. So I don't know. It's a tough call to me. Obviously, I would like them to look identical to how they looked in the TV show, or at least as nice as they look in the promo images. But especially for a small toy company, I don't know how realistic that really is. But I'd be curious, how this. I mean, according to Brian, like they have not seen like mass cancellations or anything because of the errors. So we'll see. I'm probably waiting until like from wave one, like if the Peter Preston, I definitely could be interested in getting the Valeris. I really more for the accessories than the figure itself, but because she comes with the Genesis device. Wei maybe Captain Garrett from the Enterprise C, maybe Captain Sulu from the Excelsior. I don't know if I'd rather get a Lieutenant Commander Sulu or Commander Sulu or Captain Sulu. I guess it doesn't matter that much, but wave 3 is supposed to be all originals. See, and I mean, I think this wave will be a step in the right direction that they're doing all original series crew members. However, I personally am not that interested in getting these characters in their original series outfits. I would much rather see them give us like the Star Trek 2 movie uniforms and beyond, which again, we got Valeris. Sorry, I called Valkyrie Valeris. Valkyrie's the Klingon Romulan double agent that was working with Courage in Star Trek 3. And she stole the Genesis plans, but she didn't steal the Genesis device. So it's kind of weird that they gave her the Genesis device. But like I say, that accessory alone is almost worth wanting to get that figure. But like Peter Preston, I mean, he's not going to go well with original series outfits, but he would go great if we got Rathacon. Like I still have my Art Asylum. I still display my Art Asylum Star Trek figures from both Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and the Star Trek First Contact versions, because those are my outfit wise, those are my favorite versions of those characters. So, but they're those are old figures. The articulation on those suck. I've had some breakage issues over the years with some of those figures. I've had to glue back on hands and heads with a couple of them. So I wouldn't mind getting some nice updated versions of those figures, but I'm just not convinced that the line's going to have enough life in it to really go that far. So that's why I've not yet jumped in on the first wave. But I hope I hope it's successful. I hope Nacelle does, manage to, uh, you know, go far with the line. I definitely would like to see it. All right, so I think that's all the news I have for you. We're actually gone long, so it's 4:30. So I'm gonna do a quick scan through here just to see if there's any dying questions I can try and answer. But I think we're gonna call it here. Retro Robo, hopefully you caught our segment on that and what I know so far. Salome came out of the cat. Well, her cat tree is literally right next to the cat's lair. In fact, I've got a new ending video to finish out the video, so you'll get a better look at that when we get to that. Bat Mike Man says McFarlane quality went way down. It's really weird, like the two camps between people who are excited for Mattel to take over the DC license again and those who are not excited and want McFarlane to keep the license. It's really kind of a weird context. Like it's weird how, and I mean, this is not unique. I see this a lot, but it's just weird how you can have collectors have such different views on things. Because, like I say, I see it's very much a split camp where you've got people that are like, "Oh my God, Mattel's going to totally suck when they take over DC," and yada yada. And then there are people like, "Oh, McFarlane sucks," and they've run the line into the ground, and and overall, and so it's just really kind of weird. I don't know. I have hopes. I am trying to keep a positive. Like obviously, the stuff that we see from Mattel this year is probably not anything that's going to terribly interest me. But I am keeping an open mind and hopeful that Mattel gives us some pretty cool stuff. When we really get into next year for DC. Yes, I have flashbacks to the horrible Maddie collector days, and I definitely don't want to ever go back to that. But I am keeping hopeful. McFarlane. I think McFarlane has put out some good stuff. But it's been about 5 years that they've had the license. I think they've done some pretty good things. They've done some shitty things. I definitely, the shittiest being way overdoing the whole Chase Platinum stuff. I think that is really that definitely for me took the fun out of even remotely trying to collect that stuff. And basically, where I was like, yeah, I'm done with it. But I think also they've done some pretty cool things with the line, giving us a hell of a lot of character. And I mean, I just like I said with Playmates, if it's their final year with Turtles, I think you're going to see McFarlane crank out as much DC stuff as they possibly can in this final year. So I suspect it's going to be a big year for McFarlane DC stuff. Right now the only McFarlane DC figure that I probably am even remotely thinking about buying is the Jack Nicholson esque Joker figure. But I have gotten most of their movie stuff for Batman, for the classic Batman movies. So I am looking forward to that. You're right. So end of this year. But as far as Super Bowl movie, while it does make logical sense, Quinn, there's been no official confirmation that we're going to get a trailer during the Super Bowl for Doomsday. It makes sense. Usually they do roll out trailers during the Super Bowl, but nothing official. So I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, definitely going to be a trailer at Super Bowl." I've seen if the amount of false information that I see gets pumped out on social media for this movie is astronomical. Between all the AI junk and all the bullshit rumored, such and such is going to be, it's just like it's ridiculous. So again, makes logical sense, but nothing that I've seen officially says that's happening as of yet. Another big rumor I'm seeing, which I'm still waiting for, hopefully something a little more official to confirm, is about Kathleen Kennedy soon going to be out at Lucasfilm, and Dave Filoni will be, along with another person, will be heading up Star Wars, which I think would be good news if it turns out to be true. I'm still skeptical because it's not the first time I've seen rumors popping around the internet saying Kathleen Kennedy's retiring and all that jazz. So I'll wait until I hear it from something a little more reliable. But that could be something interesting that's going to be happening in the near future. These look better than starting. I see you're talking about the goat figures. Jackie says, I unfortunately missed the pre-order for the studio hot rod. Hopefully I'll be able to get him. Yeah, like I say, if you missed out on that hot rod, I definitely, I feel like it'll probably be fairly available in physical stores. But if you're like me and you don't have a physical store that stocks anything, then I do think you will likely get another shot at online as well. The nerd alert. These talking about the Sonic stuff. Yeah, I wish those had been like 6-inch figures. Those DC figures from the Jacks for the Sonic crossover, but unfortunately they're only 5-inch, so they're a little small. Yeah, as far as Nacelle, supposedly shifted gears from obscure character waves only to alternating. Yeah, so that they announced that at New York Comic Con that the plan would be uh, Wave 3 will be essentially a mainline wave with the main characters again from the original series, and then the wave after that would be obscure characters again, and then the wave after that would be another mainline character or wave. Now I don't know like what the progression will be. Would the next mainline wave be next generation characters from the TV series, or would they be original series characters from one of the movies? I honestly wouldn't mind seeing. Nobody ever does uh, figures based on the original Star Trek motion picture. Not my favorite outfits, but it's something where again, you don't like. Nobody ever does those, so that would be kind of unique, but still giving us mainline characters. When is Scooby Doo from GIJoe Toys set to be released? I assume you mean like the actual Scooby Doo itself figure, because some of those have already started to see release. Um, Honestly, all I can tell you is what's listed online, and I guess actually Scooby Doo has not even gone up for pre-order yet. We've seen them at the shows. Like Shaggy's in stock, the Mummy character, and sorry, my Salome is jumping in front of the screen. Creeper, Scooby Doo, and Shaggy are all in stock. Is that really the only three that they've done for pre-order so far? For some reason, I thought we had gotten more for pre-order already. Last one they showed at the conventions was Daphne, but I thought like Scooby Doo himself had already gone up. So I unfortunately don't have an answer for you on that one. Remember the TV series Art Asylum made action figures that melted? Yeah. Well, like some of those, like for the original series, they had used that rubber material for the shirts, and I don't know if that held up over time. Oh, you're talking about Dark Angel, but yeah, with Star Trek, I remember they did the original series, and I had a bunch of those, but they use that, like I said, that kind of rubbery material, which any kind of heat or just temperatures got like. I don't know if any of you have the old Toy Biz Morbius figure. Again, had that rubber material on his face, and that one like if mine is like half his face looks like it's melted off, and like it wasn't ever in extreme heat or anything. I don't know why that one kind of disintegrated. Yeah, I guess the plastic just starts to break down with that kind of material. Do I have any Four Horsemen products? Nothing. No, I mean, like, I don't actively collect Four Horsemen stuff. I had some of their early days stuff, like the GIJoe stuff that they did, but like Mythic Legion type stuff. I have the horse, but I have the horse, but I never opened it. And I got the horse. A friend of mine offered it, had gotten one, and I was like, sure. He basically gifted it to me, so I wasn't going to turn it down. But I never really had a space for it, so it's actually still in the packaging. But I am not a big Four Horsemen collector. Not because I don't think that they put out some pretty cool looking stuff. It's just, as I've said many times, I am more of a nostalgia collector. I collect action figures based on things that I grew up with, and not just a general action figure collector, in large part because of space, because of money, more space than anything. I barely have enough room to display the stuff that I have. So I don't usually venture out into like independent lines or things like that. I can admire like the pictures of them and stuff, um, but I just have not ever jumped in on that stuff. I was going to go to Legion Con this year. It was going to be my first Legion Con, but then my dad ended up passing away at the same time, so I didn't make it to Legion Con this year. But I may try and go, uh, try again for this year and go. Terex, yeah, Best Buy actually threw those DC figures up this morning, listing them as in stock. So if you're able, I think those have all sold out. But if you're able to grab those, and like I say, physical, you might go into your Target and Walmart and find those on physical store shelves, uh, maybe. But that wave has already been hitting physical stores. Mega says, I'm a big fan of the page, thank you. And these new Star Trek figures are amazing. The Star Trek figures of the past have been very bad. I hope these new ones would be great. I would buy many of them. Well, and yeah, again, I'm hoping that Nacelle gives us good figures. I don't think it's fair to say, like McFarlane tried to do Star Trek for like 2 seconds. They gave us Picard and Captain Kirk. Those were not great. Um, but like, the old Art Asylum figures for that time, how well they hold up today by today's standards, not nearly as good. But back then, which obviously Diamond Select Toys had bought Art Asylum, and they continued that line through the Diamond Select banner. But those were pretty good figures for that time. And then of course Playmates back in the 90s with the cartoony type figures, that's probably the most successful Star Trek action figure line to ever be released. Of course, that was back during Star Trek's heyday when it was at its all-time popularity height. Um, and again, those figures are very cartoony. I'm more of a Star Trek ship collector than a figure collector. Like, I loved the ships that Playmates used to put out. I love the ones that Diamond Select Toys and Art Asylum put out. I was very disappointed that Diamond Select Toys never gave us the Enterprise C that they showed us at multiple conventions, but then never ever put it out. Um, I had all the other Enterprises up to the E, and was just missing the C, and the Diamond Select Toys failed on that front. Um, so I love the ships more than the figures in general, but uh, I do like to have like the main crews again in my, I don't want 50 Captain Kirks, but I love the Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan through Star Trek 6 movie uniform. So like whenever somebody gives us those figures, if they're decent, I try and get them. Next generation, I'd lean more towards the blue movie outfits, even though they're not as cool as the original series movie outfits, but I like them better than the kind of pajama outfits that they wore in the TV series. Same thing with Deep Space Nine. They ended up switching to those blue uniforms. So if we ever got Deep Space Nine figures, I would kind of rather they be in those outfits. So, but that's me, and but I don't think it's fair to say that like all Star Trek figures before sucked. They're just dated, and nobody's really in recent years given us anything for Star Trek. Meg says when McFarlane came out, people hated it and claimed the Mattel loyalists and that they would quit collecting. Well, I think what people hated the most with McFarlane was the scale. Like you had a bunch of people that wanted figures in scale with Marvel Legends basically, and they were mad that McFarlane went more of like the DC direct route with the 7-inch figures. I think a lot of people didn't realize that there were probably more 7-inch DC figures out there than 6-inch DC figures out there. But again, like a lot of those people were Marvel Legend collectors that were looking for something to scale with their Marvel Legends on the DC side of things. Quinn says the nacelle Star Trek line will only succeed depending on character selection. The first wave is hit or miss, so sales will determine. Yeah. And then the other thing that I've heard nacelle kind of does that I don't know if helps them or hurts them, but between trying to sell them directly, stuff directly, and then like putting it out to like the Walmarts and Targets, though I'm not aware of like Walmart or Target carrying the Star Trek stuff, but like with some of their other lines, Walmart was carrying it. And so by the time like the small retailers get any of that stuff, it's pretty much reached its peak. Everybody who wanted that stuff has gotten it. So it ends up hurting sales for the smaller retailers and stuff. So I don't know how that will play here, but the nerd alert. My favorite pick for 2025. Too many to decide. Yeah, I got to be honest. I am not a fan of like top 10 lists or top. And here's why. If I gave you if I sat down and really tried to give you a top 10 list, first of all, I always lose track of what figure came out what year. Because sometimes like I won't get it until later, and it's like, well, is that technically from the previous year or is it from this year? But also, like my list would only consist of figures that I've bought, and out of all the action figures that get released in a year from all the various companies, I know it looks like a lot, but I don't collect that many different action figure lines. So any type of top 10 list is probably going to involve GIJoe Classified or Marvel Legends, something along that line. I'd probably throw in maybe some Jada toy figures this year if I was really trying to do a top. I think they've really been for the Street Fighter stuff, have done some good stuff. But like there's just so many action figure lines out there that are probably really good, but I just, for whatever reason, didn't personally buy them. So, if I didn't buy them, they're not going to be in my list. So, all that's to say is, when people do these top 25 or 10 or whatever lists, they're very limited to, what that person likes. And then even more specifically, if say we're looking at Marvel Legends, well, even if it's not really the best figure out there, I'm probably going to favor a figure that's based on a favorite character than one that's not. Now some people get a little more technical and they break it all down. Well, this figure had like the best articulation. So, but I'm not that nitpicky about my figures. So that's why I generally don't do. Yeah, I used to do them sometimes, but I generally don't. And I don't even really like. I don't watch anyone else's top 25 because basically what's their favorite figure is very well likely is not going to be my favorite figure. So that's just how I see it. But if you're asking me what I like my favorite, like I say, Jada, like I give you lines. GIJoe Classified last year I thought was great. I thought we got a lot of good figures, cool vehicles. Jada Toys, I think, has been hitting it out of the park with their Street Fighter figures. Now, when it comes to Jada Toys, the only figures that I bought are Street Fighter. I haven't bought any of their other figures like Scooby Doo or anything like that. I will probably get their Invincible figures when those start to come out, but I don't like buy every single Jada toy figure that comes out. Um, my Star Wars collecting has gotten to next to nothing. So like, don't expect to see, there might be some good Star Wars figures that came out, but don't expect to see like a Star Wars figure on my top 25 because I've just kind of really lost interest in that line right now. It's not to say I couldn't get interested in it again, but right now it's just not something I've been really buying. Um, Thundercats, even though again didn't get much from Super 7 for Thundercats this year, so I've loved that line. I want to, I'm going to be pissed if we don't get like a Driller figure from Super 7, which honestly at this point I'm not sure we are. Super 7 is definitely seemingly moving away from Ultimate figures. So, but like I say, if I had to narrow it down, it'd probably come down to a couple, a GIJoe Classified or something along those lines. And those have just been my favorite go-to action figure lines in recent years. But that's why I don't really, you don't see me doing a top 25 or top 20 or top 10 or whatever. Retro Enterprise. Oh no, no, no. The refit original Enterprise or even the Enterprise A is my favorite. Even today, like out of all the Enterprises, that movie refit, you know, original Enterprise is my favorite. I love that ship. I love like Star Trek the motion picture isn't the most exciting Star Trek movie, but the visuals in that movie, even by today, I think are incredible. I'm still waiting for Tommy to send out they did that refit Enterprise large scale vehicle as one of their crowdsourcings. And that was supposed to be out at the end of this past year, and it got delayed. So last I heard, that's going to come out. That's supposed to ship in March, but hopefully that will be become one of my favorite display pieces because again, that refit Enterprise is my favorite. The D is to me is too fat looking. I guess if I had to pick my second favorite Enterprise, it would be the Enterprise E. Uh, I mean, not that's yeah, Super Seven. I mean, there's not like anything official, but if you just like see what Super Seven's been putting out and soliciting in recent months, it's mostly just reaction stuff. Not been seeing a lot of Ultimate stuff anymore. So, uh, you know, hopefully that will change. But right now, like they just don't seem to be too in. And they've stopped a lot of their Ultimate lines altogether. So we did get a wave recently for Thundercats, but to me, it wasn't a very exciting lineup of characters. So, um, but I don't know. All right, we're almost 5 o'clock now, so definitely. I know it's been a couple weeks, so we had a lot to catch up on. Um, like I say, you know, if I had to guess, this probably is going to be my only video this week because I'm not expecting to be much more in the way of news this week. But probably by next week there'll be enough news. But until we get a little closer to Toy Fair, we're probably going to be in the maybe one or two videos a week mode. So um, won't say it's impossible, but right now I would not expect another stream this week. But probably we'll be back either Monday or Wednesday of next week. But again, thank you to everybody who has tuned in. As always, it's much appreciated. Stay safe out there. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to ToyNewsEye.com, MarvelousNews.com, JediInsider.com, and TFormers.com. And remember, action figures are great,